What if the things that make you feel like a misfit at your current job are actually the exact qualities that cybersecurity companies are desperately looking for? If you've ever felt like you don't quite fit in anywhere, like your brain works differently than everyone else around you, or like you're wasting your potential in a dead-end role, this video might change everything for you. My name is Ryan Anwar from Elevate Cyber, and I've been working in cybersecurity for over a decade, and I've helped hundreds of people discover that they were the perfect fit for this field without even knowing it. And today, I'm going to reveal 3 hidden signs that you're already cut out for a 6-figure cybersecurity career. And the third sign is something you've probably been told is a weakness your whole entire life, but in cybersecurity, it's actually a superpower. So if you're tired of feeling overlooked and want to discover if you're sitting on untapped potential, keep watching. The first one is what I like to call the curiosity mindset. And just forget about cybersecurity for a second, but one of the indicators that you have this is if you think back to early in life, interests that you've had long ago, right? Were you drawn to figuring out how things work? So when it came to your hobbies, maybe the games that you played, maybe the activities that you did, were you one of those people that you try to pick apart, like, okay, how does this game work and how can I optimize this or that, right? Well, if you did, then that is one of those key traits that is really beneficial for cybersecurity, because that mindset is going to serve you super well. Because when we're talking about cybersecurity, whether we're attacking or defending, you have to understand very well how the system works. You have to very well understand how things work so well that in some cases even better than the people that created the system. So one of the ways that you reach that point is just by being curious about things, right? You might think like, okay, well, people that created it, they assumed that the user was going to do this thing, but what if I do this thing instead? And even if you're a defender, the curiosity mindset is super powerful as well, because you got to defend these systems. You got to really know exactly how they work and how attackers might try to find ways around things. So if you've been called a tinkerer or things like that, that is a very good sign. And by the way, if you want to just really optimize your path into cybersecurity and do so in 6 months or even less in some cases, no promises on the less, but I have seen it before, so I have to mention that, then go ahead and book a call down in the description below, and we'll see how we can leverage your curiosity mindset to get into the field of cybersecurity. Now, back to the video. The second key indicator is if you naturally spot weaknesses and loopholes that others might miss. This kind of goes hand in hand with the curiosity mindset, but as you were, especially what I find is when I talk to a lot of cybersecurity people, they always, not always, but a lot of them have these stories of how when they were in computer class, in elementary school, they figured out how to do some kind of crazy hack or exploit, or maybe find a loophole of some sort to okay, well, let me just give you a concrete example, right? I've heard a story many times of people that they figured out how to hack into the database when they were in 6th grade or something, where the grades were stored, and then they went and modified their grade to turn it into an A or something. That's just one very niche example, but have you had similar experiences, right, where you're able to spot these weaknesses and loopholes that others might miss, right? So even if it's not directly hacking or something like that per se, maybe it's video games, right? Were you someone that would find exploits in video games or glitches in video games, right? Or workarounds or just really unique solutions to challenges? Maybe you were someone that was on the more analytical side where you put a lot of effort into figuring out the optimal way to do stuff. Did you learn how to solve a Rubik's Cube, and did you spend a lot of time figuring out the optimal way to solve it or something like that? These are just some examples that will hopefully get the gears turning in your head, because if you're watching this video and you're like, oh no, not really, no, pause for a moment, right? Really think back, because sometimes it's easy to forget these things, but if you're thinking back, there might be some cases, some experiences where oh yeah, I did actually figure this one thing out that everyone thought I was crazy because I was able to do this or anything like that, then this is a really good sign, because in cybersecurity, whether you're on the offensive or defensive side, this is going to be very helpful. If you're on the offensive side, that's exactly what they're paying you to do, right? Is find the security issues that their tooling missed, that the people that created the system, they also missed it, right? And if you're on the defensive side, you're always trying to spot that needle in a haystack, right? You're trying to spot about, the one case where it is malicious traffic in the network and things like that. So if you have this, attention to detail as well, that's another really big one, but that will serve you super well. Number 3 is one that I think gets overlooked a lot of times, and that is persistence. When you get into something, this is what it looks like, right? When you get into something, you really get into it. And this is something that, you might have felt like this was a flaw your entire life, because people would say, oh, you need to be more balanced, right? You need to not be so obsessive about things, right? If you find that like a lot of things are boring, this is kind of how I felt in many cases. When I was going through school, I actually didn't think that I was that smart, because I would get like, A's and B's. And I had friends and stuff that would make straight A's all the time. And I just thought like, oh yeah, those people are like smarter than me or whatever. I used to think that I was like fairly average. What I didn't realize is that for me, when I was going through school, I just found it so boring. I was told that I had ADD, ADHD, and all this stuff, because there would be so many cases where I was so bored at school that I would do my homework, but I would forget to turn it in. Like I would actually do everything, but I would just forget to turn it in. I remember my mom would get like so mad that like I would get zeros on my assignments because I would be like, oh yeah, I forgot to turn it in. But I just found school so boring that I didn't try as hard, and I could have made higher grades if I tried, but I didn't want to try because I just found it so boring. I'm like, well, I can make good enough grades, like just kind of coasting by. I didn't particularly enjoy it. So, but then what I found when I was doing things that I was interested in, I would go full force. I would get obsessive with it. I would go like really in depth with it. In those moments, I would have no problem focusing. The reason they said I had ADHD or ADD or whatever, I think they said I didn't have the hyper one. I just had the ADD one. They're like, oh, he can't focus on tasks for a long time. That ended up being completely untrue. When it was something I was interested in, I had infinite focus almost. If you guys think back and, maybe you have the same, diagnosis story, whatever as me, then that's an indicator. But if there's things where it's like you really got into it when you found something that you felt was like challenging and interesting and engaging to you, if you found yourself losing track of time doing that thing, that is also a really good indicator as well. If you're like, yeah, unchallenging tasks are boring, I want to find challenging things that I'm interested in, and then I have no problem focusing, then that is a really good indicator. And that is going to help with persistence. So if you're someone that, you will persist, maybe even stubbornly so, you find yourself to be persistent, then that's something that I can't really teach someone. But it is, out of all the students that I've had that have been the most successful, I would say, are the ones that are really persistent. They're the ones that like really get engaged with stuff and they persist, because it's so easy to do stuff only when you feel like doing it. If you can either have it naturally or cultivate the ability to persist and do things and push through, even if like you would rather be watching Netflix or whatever, then that's going to help as well. Because hey, we were like 10 minutes into the video. If you're still watching, I think you guys probably have what it takes in terms of persistence. A lot of people nowadays, right, if it's not a YouTube short or whatever, they're going to only watch for a minute, right? They're going to click off. So if you're persisting right now, then hey, that might be an indicator right there as well. But yeah, if you're looking to get into cybersecurity right now, the thing that you might be wondering is, okay, well, a lot of these traits align with me. I don't know if I'm technical enough. It sounds like it's really difficult. Well, you might be surprised to find that cybersecurity jobs, the vast majority of them are actually really easy. And I'm not joking. I'm not saying this as some kind of like punchline or whatever. I'm completely serious about that. And if you watch the video down in the description below, I'm going to break down in depth exactly why that is the case and what the reality is you could expect in your first cybersecurity job. So I'll see you guys right over in that video. And once again, if you want to work with me directly, then you can also in the description below book a call and we'll get you on the path.